Preventing cross-site scripting in Java. The primary defense against cross-site scripting is contextual output encoding. The idea behind contextual output encoding is the translation of special characters to their inert equivalent such that the browser will not interpret them. The special characters that need to be encoded are dependent upon the context in which untrusted data is utilized. Just as the attacker must compensate for the context in which their XSS exploit is interpreted, developers must ensure they apply the correct encoding strategy to mitigate the XSS exploit attempt. Let's talk about each of these encoding strategies using the OWASP's ISAPI project reference implementation. If untrusted data is utilized within an HTML tag body, then we must make use of HTML entity encoding. HTML entity encoding translates special characters into their HTML entities equivalent. If untrusted data is utilized within what is considered a safe HTML attribute, then we must apply aggressive HTML entity encoding. This involves applying HTML entities translation to all ASCII characters as opposed to just the 5 in traditional HTML entity encoding. If untrusted data is utilized as a part of a parameter in a URL attribute value, then we must apply URL encoding. URL encoding translates all ASCII characters with numeric values less than 255 to their percent hexadecimal equivalent. If untrusted data represents a URL used as the value of an href or source attribute, then we must apply a whitelist input validation strategy. There are numerous peculiarities across browsers as it relates to the encoding and decoding of these attributes, which attackers can use to their advantage to bypass a pure output encoding strategy. That is why, for this specific context, defining a list of allowed URLs and validating against that list is preferred. If untrusted data is utilized as a part of a CSS value, then make use of CSS hex encoding. CSS hex encoding translates all ASCII characters with numeric values less than 255 to their \hexadecimal equivalent. Take care not to use untrusted data in complex properties such as URL, behavior, and vendor-specific attributes, as they are still susceptible even if properly escaped. If untrusted data is utilized as a part of a JavaScript variable, then make use of JavaScript encoding. JavaScript encoding escapes all non-alphanumeric characters with the Unicode escaping format. Use of untrusted data in any other JavaScript context is discouraged, as they are still susceptible even if escaped. Templating engines such as Timeleaf and FreeMarker automatically perform HTML entity encoding and URL encoding by default. This will help mitigate XSS in the most common cases where dynamic data is rendered within HTML. Be mindful, however, that these default behaviors can be turned off. Encoding can be disabled in Timeleaf through the use of the # syntax, and it can be disabled in FreeMarker via the use of the No Escape option. Explicitly disabling these default behaviors in Timeleaf, FreeMarker, or any other templating engine is discouraged as it increases the risk of XSS. It's important that you understand what contextual encoding strategies, if any, are provided by your templating framework so you can apply them consistently and easily throughout development.